Now, children, I have started this chapter Indigo with you. Let me give you a fast recap what all we have done till now, and then we'll continue further. Now, in this chapter, Indigo, as I told you, it is about the indigo plantations which the peasants who were working as sharecroppers in the British rule, they grew indigo plantations on their land, which which plantations were given as a rent to the Englishmen, right? Now, all of a sudden, Britishers stopped taking this as a rent from them because they were getting synthetic fibers from Germany. So many Indians, they were compelled to sign the compensation form, and many had given them the compensation, right? So now they had to pay the rent also. So when the Indian sharecroppers came to know about it, they were really very disappointed, and the condition of the peasants and the sharecroppers was miserable. The story begins when a peasant by the name of Rajkumar Shukla is following Gandhiji everywhere because he wanted justice for the poor sharecroppers. Gandhiji, being a struggler, being a national fighter, he was busy with various things, so he was not able to give him time. But the man Rajkumar Shukla was really resolute, and he followed Gandhiji everywhere. Right? So finally, Gandhiji had to give him decision that he would be going to Champaran along with him. So Gandhiji, along with Rajkumar Shukla, went to Champaran. On the way, it was Muzaffarpur, where he went to Dr. Rajendra Prasad's home, though he was not able to meet Dr. Rajendra Prasad there. The servants there thought him to be a peasant like Rajkumar Shukla, and he was made to sit on the ground. He was not even allowed to draw water from the well because they were not sure whether he was a Brahmin or an untouchable. Then he went to Muzaffarpur, where he met J.B. Kriplani. Then there he met other people also, and he studied the case in detail, right? So when he studied the case in detail, he came to the conclusion that the lawyers, there was no point taking such cases to the lawyers, as the lawyers were charging a very high fee, right? Now, when Gandhiji was moving to Champaran, there was a resistance from British government, but he still moved on. Then he heard that there was a problem. One of the peasants was ill-treated by the Britishers. So he left his place on the back of elephant. He wanted to see the condition of the peasant. But on the way, he was stopped by the English official there, and he was given a notice to leave Champaran at immediately, right? So Gandhiji signed the notice mentioning that I will disobey the order, right? That I would disobey the order, I would not obey the order. Fine. And Gandhiji, on this, he was given the summon to appear in the court the very next day. So all night, Gandhi remained awake. He telegraphed Rajendra Prasad to come from Bihar with influential friends. Then instructions were given to his Sabarmati ashram also. He telegraphed a full report to the viceroy also. And next day, when he appeared in the court, there were big in masses were there. There were spontaneous demonstrations in thousands around the courthouse. So that created a tremendous and immense pressure upon the Englishmen, because many people were there and they were not able to control the crowd. So Gandhiji was the only person who controlled the crowd, and he was very polite and friendly with the Britishers, but he gave them concrete proof that uh, they might be challenged by the Indians if they tried to misuse their power. So the government here was baffled. The prosecutor requested the judge to postpone the trial. Now the trial, which was supposed to take place against Gandhiji in the court, now it was postponed because people had gathered in huge masses outside the court. So from that point, we are starting the story. Harshita, is my voice audible, dear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Harshita, you have to start reading from Gandhi protested against the delay?
Gandhi protested against the delay. He read a statement pleading guilty. He was involved, he told the court, in a conflict of duties. On the one hand, not to set a bad example as a lawbreaker. On the other hand, to render the humanitarian and national service for which he had come. He disregarded the order to leave, not for want of respect for lawful authority, but in obedience to the higher law of our being, the voice of conscience. He asked the penalty due. The magistrate announced that he would pronounce sentence after a 2-hour recess and asked Gandhi to furnish bail for those 120 minutes. Gandhi refused. The judge released him without bail.
So here we find Gandhiji's disobedience towards Britishers. See, Gandhiji was, as we have read all these things in history also, Gandhiji was not a kind of a man who would revolt or who would have that slaughter, bloodshed, or killing, or using of the armaments, or doing using any kind of violent methods to put forth his points or to get justice for the people. He was basically a non-violent person, and he did everything but in a non-violent way. So here also we find the same thing. When there was a tremendous pressure upon the magistrate, and he decided that the trial would take place the next day, because even he wanted to consult to his seniors, and the crowd outside the court was very huge. So the government officials, the Englishmen, they were not able to control it. But Gandhiji protested against the delay, and he read a statement pleading guilty. He said, "You have to give me that thing. You have to, if I have, it's my conflict of duties, and you have to punish me. I'm a lawbreaker," right? But he said that it was my national service which for what I was doing. He disregarded the order to leave the courtroom, right? Not for want of respect for lawful authority, but in obedience to the higher law of his being. That means what his conscience was telling him, he was hearing to the voice of conscience, so he disobeyed to leave the courtroom. The magistrate announced that he would pronounce sentence. The magistrate said, "Okay, I will give you the decision, but after a 2-hour recess, after 120 minutes, I'll give you the decision. And you have the option that in that 120 minutes you can furnish the bail." Right? But Gandhiji still refused to give the bail also. He said, "Why should I? I have not done anything wrong. I was just serving my nation. So that is the voice of my conscience, what I'm following." So he disobeyed that thing also. And then the judge released him without bail. See, it clearly shows the helplessness of the Britishers in front of Gandhiji. The same thing is there. Without any armament, without any sword, this man was fighting a battle, and in that battle, the Britishers, they started surrendering. So this was a big achievement for Indians. It was happening for the first time that the Britishers had to change their decision, because a man with his non-violent measures compelled them to do so. And he was so influential that within few days, there was a big crowd of the people in his support in Champaran. Right? So let's continue. Uh, Harshita, you have to continue from this point. When the court reconvened.
When the court reconvened, the judge said he would not deliver the judgment for several days. Meanwhile, he allowed Gandhi to remain at liberty. Rajendra Prasad, Brij Kishore Babu, Maulana Mazharul Haq, and several other prominent lawyers had arrived from Bihar. They conferred with Gandhi. What would they do if he was sentenced to prison? Gandhi asked. Why the senior lawyer replied. They had come to advise and help him. If he went to jail, there would be nobody to advise and they would go home.
Now, when the court reconvened, the judge said he would not deliver the judgment for several days. Now, when the court started, he said that I'm not going to give any judgment. Meanwhile, he allowed Gandhi to remain at liberty. He said, "No problem, you are free, but I'm not giving any kind of judgment right now." So, Rajendra Prasad, Brij Kishore Babu, Maulana Mazharul Haq, and several other prominent lawyers and had arrived from Bihar. They conferred with Gandhi. What would they do if he was sentenced to prison? So they were discussing that what would they do if Gandhiji was sent to the prison. Gandhi asked why. The senior lawyer replied, they had come to advise and help him. If he went to jail, there would be nobody to advise and they would go home. So this he said that they would go home, there would be anything. There is just a second. You can continue reading, Harshita.
What about the injustice to the sharecroppers?
Harshita, please just give me a second.
Okay, ma'am.
Harshita, please just give me a second. I just need to check once.
The lawyers withdrew to consult. Rajendra Prasad has recorded the upshot of their consultations. They thought amongst themselves that Gandhi was totally a stranger and yet he was prepared to go to prison for the sake of the peasants. If they, on the other hand, being not only residents of the adjoining districts but also those who claim to have served these peasants, should go home. It would be shameful desertion. They accordingly went back to Gandhi and told him they were ready to follow him into jail. The Battle of Champaran is won, he exclaimed. Then he took a piece of paper and divided the group into pairs and put down the order in which each pair was to quote arrest.
Now, what about the injustice to the sharecroppers? Now the story here was all about Gandhiji. It started revolving around Gandhiji only. What about the sharecroppers incident? There was a pause to it. Nobody was paying attention towards it, right? So Gandhiji demanded, that I need some justice for sharecroppers. The lawyers withdrew to consult. Rajendra Prasad has recorded the upshot of their consultations. Dr. Rajendra Prasad has recorded their consultations, what the lawyers say. They thought among themselves that Gandhi was totally a stranger and yet he was prepared to go to prison for the sake of peasants. If they, on the other hand, being not only residents of the adjoining districts but also those who claim to have served these peasants, should go home, it would be shameful desertion. But now, all the people who were there accompanying Gandhiji at that time, that was Dr. Rajendra Prasad, J.B. Kriplani, and many others, most of them, they were somehow connected to Champaran, right? Or they were living in the adjoining areas, the neighborhood area, neighboring states, and neighboring regions of Champaran. But it was a big shame for them if a stranger who was coming all together from Sabarmati, right? His ashram was in Sabarmati. He was coming from that point to Champaran, right? So, and he was absolutely a stranger for them. But for their sake, he was willing to go to prison if required. But if they back out, it was a shameless thing for them. So it was a shameful thing for them. So these people, they also decided that if they are talking about arrest, if they're putting Gandhiji behind the bars, we have no issues. Even we will be accompanying him in the prison. They accordingly went back to Gandhi and told him they were ready to follow him into the jail. The Battle of Champaran is won. At that time, Gandhiji declared, Battle of Champaran is won. This statement was given because when everybody stands united, obviously the opponent becomes weak, right? So he said the Battle of Champaran is won because everybody is now united, standing against the Britishers. Then he took a piece of paper and he divided the people into the group, that in how many groups and who all will be going to the prison if they are putting Indians into the jail, then who all will be going, right? So let's continue further. We have to continue from several days later.
Several days later, Gandhi received a written communication from the magistrate informing him that the lieutenant governor of the province had ordered the case to be dropped. Civil disobedience had triumphed the first time in modern India. Gandhi and the lawyers now proceeded to conduct a far-flung inquiry into the grievances of the farmers. Depositions by about 10,000 peasants were written down and notes made on other evidence. Documents were collected. The whole area throbbed with the activity of the investigators and the vehement protest of the landlords.
Now, several days afterwards, Gandhiji received a written letter from the magistrate informing him that the lieutenant governor of the province had ordered the case to be dropped. Earlier, it was told, see, you can see the pressure upon the Britishers. When they were inside the courtroom the day of the trial, because there was such a big crowd outside the courtroom, So they decided that, okay, we are going to take up this afterwards. When Gandhiji was very strict on the point, no, that he wants a judgment that day only, then they gave him 2 hours recess and asked him to give a bail in that for that 2 hours period. Gandhiji refused to give that, and then they said, you are free to move anywhere, but the decision will be, the judgment will be given at a later stage. Now, after that, a written communication comes to Gandhiji that the Lieutenant Governor of the Prince has ordered that the case would be dropped. The purpose here was that they could see that he's an influential man and there are so many people standing with him. So it would lead to a revolt. So it's better to leave this man. Now, several days later, Gandhi received this. I have done written communication. This was for the first time in the history of India when civil disobedience had triumphed. So commonly everybody had disobeyed Britishers. So civil disobedience had triumphed in modern India. Gandhi and the lawyers now proceeded to conduct far-flung inquiry to the grievances of the farmers. Now, all that court cases, the trials, and going behind the bars, all these things were over with this dropping of the case. So now the focus was completely upon the sharecroppers. So Gandhiji and the lawyers now proceeded to conduct a far-flung inquiry to the grievances of the farmers. So now they started inquiring about the problems of the farmers. Dispositions means a formal written statement by about 10,000 peasants were written down and notes made on other evidences. So it was complaints by the sharecroppers were collected and other evidences were collected, documents were collected. The whole area throbbed with the activity, produced a lot of sound due to this huge crowd with the activity of the investigators and the vehement protest of the landlords. So though there was no murder, no slaughter, no killing, no destroying the national property, nothing like that. But the inquiry, the production of the evidences, and the activity of the investigators, it created a lot of protest among the landlords. The Britishers could easily see that there was a lot of turbulence because of this Mahatma. Let's continue further. In June, Gandhi was summoned to
In June, Gandhi was summoned to Sir Edward Gate, the Lieutenant Governor. Before he went, he met leading associates and again laid detailed plans for civil disobedience if he should not return. Gandhi had 4 protracted interviews with the Lieutenant Governor, who as a result appointed an official commission of inquiry into the indigo sharecropper situation. The commission consisted of landlords, government officials, and Gandhi as the sole representative of the peasants.
Now, Gandhiji was then summoned to Sir Edward Gate, who was the Lieutenant Governor at that time. But before he went, he met leading associates and again laid detailed plans for civil disobedience if he should not return. So, because obviously there was the Indians were not able to rely much upon the Britishers. So before he went to meet him, so there were already the plan was set that in case Gandhiji didn't return back and in case something goes wrong there in that meeting, what people have to do, that was well planned before. So Gandhiji had 4 protracted interviews with the Lieutenant Governor. Then there were 4 interviews, which were very lengthy ones, who as a result appointed an official commission of inquiry into the indigo sharecropper situation. So that an inquiry was appointed to know the actual situation of the sharecroppers. The commission consisted of landlords, government officials, and Gandhi as the sole representative of the peasants. So now who all were the members of the commission? The landlords, government officials, and Gandhi as the representative of the peasants. Please continue. Gandhi remained in Champaran.
Ma'am, there is a message. Ma'am, corrected. Champaran for an initial uninterrupted period of 7 months and then again for several shorter visits. The visit undertaken casually on the entreaty of an unlettered peasant in the expectation that it would last a few days occupied almost a year of Gandhi's life. The official inquiry assembled a crushing mountain of evidence against the big planters, and when they saw this, they agreed, in principle, to make refunds to the peasants. But how much must we pay? They asked Gandhi.
Now, Gandhi remained in Champaran for an initial uninterrupted period of 7 months. So, in order to get discipline for the poor sharecroppers, Gandhiji stayed in Champaran for 7 months. And then again, he made several shorter visits to Champaran to have a look at the situation of the sharecroppers. The visit, undertaken casually on the entreaty of an unlettered peasant in the expectation that it would last a few days, occupied almost a year of Gandhi's life. So it was almost a year he was well connected with Champaran, 7 months stay, and then again there were many short visits anytime he had to go to Champaran. The official inquiry assembled a crushing mountain of evidence against the big planters, and when they saw this, they agreed in principle to make refunds to the peasants. But how much must we pay? They asked Gandhi. So the official inquiry assembled a crushing mountain of evidence. Now, as I told you, there was an inquiry commission which consisted of the landlords, other people, and Gandhi being the government officials and Gandhi being the only spokesperson for the peasants. It was at this time when this inquiry was done, it was revealed that sharecroppers were suffering. So the big planters, the evidences were against the big planters, and when they saw this, they agreed and they had to make a refund to the peasants. But now the question was how much refund they had to make, right? That was the question. So from this point, we are going to continue tomorrow onwards. Varun, we can stop now.